profile when I was Muslim. So if I change it, it's going to attract all the Muslim people that want to kill me.
I don't. You know what? Real bravery is asking for safe spaces at universities. I think you try to draw attention to yourself and how people might want to kill you. I think that's extreme. I think that you shouldn't have to make it all about you and your bravery. Okay. I just want to put that out there right now because the real bravery is safe spaces. Okay.
Yes, and by the way, we are live. But welcome to the ex-Muslim panel. I guess I was asked to host this, and I guess we're just going to go down the line, introduce everyone. Everyone will get a chance to talk. There's a couple people who are not here yet who may show up, and we'll let them talk too. Let's start with Skepo. What's up, Skepo? Tell us about you.
I was just talking, forgetting we were live.
That's all you need to know.
Pretty much, that's me. Hi.
Tell us what's up, Skepo. Why you wanted to do this, and what we're going to accomplish, I suppose.
Well, this all got started because we were talking about. I tweeted some stuff about ex-Muslims and wondering how extreme everyone that had left Islam, because I assumed most people that had left weren't very extreme. But then we all got to talking, and the Kufar experience with Lalo kind of evolved from that, and we all needed some sort of hangout to come and just bitch about stuff and talk about experiences, and so this evolved from that, I suppose. Just we were all talking. Plus, it's incredibly rare to get Smiles anywhere. I mean, unless you're on his channel and he's interviewing you, and it's a real treat to have him in here.
Oh yeah.
What? Come on, I'm willing to go on any channel. You just gotta let me know, man.
Smiles so Hollywood. Anyway.
You're so big for your britches.
But yeah, that's it. That's the only reason, just to talk. And naturally, ex-Muslims are late. Naturally.
Yes, and and we have introverted Smiles here. Hello.
Hey, what's up? How you doing, man? Just enjoying a beer, which is rare. And
how ex-Muslim of you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a clear kafir, disbeliever. So I'm just here chilling, man.
Absolutely.
I love your show, Nightmare Fuel Podcast. Keep it up.
Thank you. I didn't even know you were a fan. I'm awestruck.
Well, I just started watching, and I became a fan. Awesome stuff.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you make good stuff too, man. We lost Kufar. I'm about to introduce him, and he's like, "Shit, I'm out of here."
Kufar.
He was just like, "No, can't handle the pressure."
Where?
I guess he'll come back. We'll have to sustain this without him for a minute. But yeah, I'm mostly just gonna sit back because I'm not ex-Muslim, but I'm here to just make sure things go smoothly. So go ahead, Skepo. Was there a particular topic you wanted to bring up first?
No.
Jeez, Skepo.
So prepared.
Oh my gosh, you know how busy I've been. All of a sudden, everyone wants a piece of me.
Well, I did want to mention that you mentioned earlier about ex-Muslims kind of going to the extreme, and I kind of noticed that too. I kind of noticed that you were really into Islam, and I was really into Islam, and other ex-Muslims are really into Islam, and I think that's so important to illustrate because it shows that we really went the distance. I think there's a misconception out there that ex-Muslims are just bitter people who never really discovered Islam. So I think it's a great connection that we have, and I want to point that out, that ex-Muslims are pretty knowledgeable about Islam. They're not flakes, sometimes they are, but a lot of the times they know the Quran better than Muslims themselves. So I just wanted to point that out.
It's the same way with Mormonism. I became a better Mormon after I left the Mormon church because I had to debate it, so I had to learn more about it. I knew enough, but I learned a whole lot more, which also helped with me leaving and kind of cleansing myself of the cult. Islam
what that had surprised me, like the answers that we got, because most everyone had said it at some point they had been quite extreme. And I get accused of being a fake Muslim all the time, like you weren't really a Muslim. But I try to. It's like I argue that yeah I was, but they can't believe that or see that. Like how could you be a good Muslim and really believe it and then leave? Just like with any other Muslim that's born into the religion, how could you leave if you knew and you read the Quran? How could you leave? I get that all the time.
Yeah, and the way I look at it now is that, I mean, I never thought in a million years that I would look at Islam as a 7th century barbaric cult. You really look at the text and analyze the hadith, and you can tell that Muhammad was just a man during his time that propagated some dangerous beliefs. And that's how his invasion started. That's how it started. It started with migration, traveling to different countries. And that's kind of what we see today in Europe. We see this influx of Muslims just coming in and not respecting everybody and really sticking to the text. And that's what worries me. That's why I do my channel.
Your channel's amazing, by the way. I know I've told you that a bunch of times, but I'm so impressed.
No, I mean, I just want to encourage that ex-Muslim to just put out quality videos. And I think that's what's happening now on YouTube. I think more ex-Muslims are not being afraid, and they're just coming out. I was shocked that I got so many messages saying, dude, you've read my mind for the past 5 years, but I just never said anything about it. And that's the most important thing I want to encourage. I want to encourage people to put their voices out there. Because I used to think as a Muslim, oh, all these ex-Muslims are just bitter assholes that just want to bitch and complain and, not really talk about Islam in its true form. But now I'm seeing more people coming out. There's like this rise of ex-Muslims on YouTube, and that's great to see.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, we have Kufar back with us.
Are you gonna say hello this time, Kufar?
Sorry, I lost my connection.
You're all good.
So Nick was asking about did you ex-Muslims ever cheat with bacon or alcohol, and did you ever own a dog? Never own a dog unless they were just outside, but even then that wasn't okay. And I spent 12 years not eating any fucking pork products. God damn it. All those years wasted.
Well,
never cheated.
I'm still a virgin, so I need to fix that. I know I have to fix that. I'm keeping to the Islamic teachings, which say, don't fornicate, don't have sex. You have to get married first, and that's such a dangerous culture to propagate. Like, Islam says you have to get married right away, and that's what usually damages a lot of Muslim women. They have to get married right away, and I just met this Middle Eastern ex-Muslim woman today, and her husband just banged her and left, and just fled the country. So this whole marriage thing is such a disaster. They come to our countries, Muslims, they come to UK or America and just say, I want to marry you, and then they just ditch them and marry their first cousin, which is biologically degrading to society. So I just wanted to point that out.
What about you, Kufar? Did you ever cheat with bacon or alcohol?
I'm not really an ex-Muslim, but yeah, I eat
He
bacon.
just knows a lot about Islam.
Fair enough. I guess kind of a part two to that question, because the Boston bombers were brought up. How would you react? What's your answer to when people say, oh, this person they weren't really inspired by Islam, or they're not real Muslims because they did try alcohol or pork or went to the strip club, stuff like that?
No true Scotsman.
Fair enough. You sum it up so well, Skepo. You're a genius.
Well, I heard that that mosque that they went to were actually, I guess, moderate Muslims, so to say, and they really propagated the peaceful version of Islam, whatever that means. But those two people were just, oh, they got the wrong teachings. But, the point is that mosque didn't really do anything about it. I mean, they were aware of these people, in my opinion, and I think that's a big thing that's going to be coming up nowadays. Just people, Muslims, are they going to report the terrorists? That's what I'd like to see, because in the doctrine of Islam, they prefer the Muslim over the non-Muslim. They say the worst Muslim is better than the best non-believer. And it would be just interesting to see if more Muslims will report guys like the Boston bombers.
Do you really think they will, though? For real?
Me, looking back at my experience as a Muslim, I personally would report them.
Right.
Me in my mosque or whatever, we reported those types of people, but I know many mosques that are like, oh, you're a sellout, you're a traitor, if you report a fellow Muslim. So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think it's going to happen.
Because it was like, when I was in my most extreme phase, right, I didn't condone terrorist activities, but I kind of did. I've talked about that. But it's kind of like I didn't like it happening, but there was always reasons for it. It was the West, or there something, whatever it was. I felt like it was kind of sort of justified. So I would have not reported anything unless I felt like my life was in danger in the immediate vicinity, because I was incredibly selfish. I wouldn't have said anything. If anything, I might have stayed more quiet.
Well, let me ask you a question on the spot. Even if you were Muslim, would you, if you found out Osama bin Laden was next door to your house, would you have reported him?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I think there's a possibility that Muslims might do it, but I'm not leaning on it. I'm not counting on it, you know what I mean? I think they should be under surveillance. I think FBI should be surveilling, watching their mosques, and just checking up what they're doing. And I don't believe in this term Islamophobia at all.
No, it's really dangerous to use that word or term.
What about... yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So this is kind of a take on a question in the chat, but basically, because Skepa was mentioning the no true Scotsman fallacy earlier, what do you make of supposedly moderate, westernized Muslims? Like, basically, my question is, would you still refer to those people as Muslims? That seems to be something that comes up.
I personally don't think there's such thing as a moderate Islam or a moderate Muslim. I just think you're a Muslim or you're not. I just think ignorance plays a factor, though, as well. You can't treat... I hate to say it like this, but you really do have to take Muslims by case and see what they truly believe. I know that will take forever, but some Muslims are just extremely ignorant. Some of them know some things. It's pretty difficult to judge by. I don't know.
I always say that I don't think that there's any moderate Muslims, and I get yelled at for that a lot. But even moderate Muslims still are absolutely not moderate in my eyes with their version of it at all. So I don't know.
I like to call them half-assed Muslims.
Yeah.
He's
I
went
don't know.
too far.
The Mormons, they call it like Jack Mormons. If you're not a good Mormon, if you're not doing all the Mormon things you're supposed to do, so you're Jack Mormon. But you're still a Mormon, and you still believe all the crazy things. It's just maybe you don't go to church as much. So it's the same thing with Islam. Apologetics, man.
I think that some Muslims they drink some Muslims drink alcohol, do drugs, but then they believe in that gangster conquering Islamic feeling, with like that mafia feeling they have. But they believe in the caliphate. Meanwhile, they may eat bacon, they may do drugs, but they still consider themselves real Muslims. Do you think that's true, Intro?
Yeah, I think that's true as well. Especially like in Pakistan, you find those Muslims that just do whatever. But if you insult Muhammad, if you insult the Prophet, they'll go full extreme terrorists on you, and snap in a second. So I think that some of that is being imported in the UK, in Europe, in America, where just Muslims don't practice at all. But if you insult Muhammad or draw a cartoon of them, they might snap on you and do something dangerous. So that's something that we definitely need to address, for issues.
Yeah, I've seen it here. I remember I was chilling with a Muslim friend. We were drinking together, and then we were at the McDonald's drive-thru, and I was gonna buy a BLT, and then he swore at me. He's like, "What the hell are you doing? Why are you buying bacon?" And I'm like, we just drank alcohol together." And he's like, "Don't buy bacon." I'm like, "All right." I found it weird. I'm like, so, so he intimidated me to not buy the bacon. But yeah, he was drinking alcohol, which made no sense to me.
That's a hypocrite.
Yep.
But
So here's something. What do you guys? What's your take on the Brotherhood of Islam and Black Islam?
the Nation of Islam,
Yeah, like stuff like that.
they're not real Muslims.
I spent time with I actually was next to the Nation of Islam Mosque in Georgia, and yeah, they've got some crazy beliefs. It's drastically different from traditional mainstream Islam. They believe the white man is the devil. I mean, we don't have to get into all of that, but it's not really mainstream Islam. It's sort of their own cult. I would say they're less harmful than mainstream Muslims, to be honest with you. They actually make good bean pies and fish tacos. So that's a plus. I mean, they dress up in suit and ties. Yeah, they could be militant, and they were militant back in the day, but I would say they're not really harmful. If you look at the bigger picture, as far as the Muslim Brotherhood, that is a different beast. I think they're as harmful as ISIS.
Yeah, Muslim Brotherhood is pretty nasty.
Because the thing that pisses me off about them is that they try to infiltrate. They know what they're doing. I would say they embrace more of the Taqiyya doctrine more than anything, and just kind of lie their way through politics, and they lie about so many of the beliefs of Islam, and just kind of infiltrate your country until they take over. That's the
I
goal.
was told that Taqiyya doesn't exist for any Muslims except Shias.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to use that word taqiyya as well, but it's the best way for non-Muslims to
Exactly.
grasp it.
It's still a thing. I'm like, it may not have the word attached to it, but it's still the same. It's a thing, and I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to describe it, because you know the thing I'm talking about. It's there, and it's common and it's normal, but I wish that there was a better word to describe it. Because
Yeah,
Taqiyya you get called out, and it's a Shia thing, but that's kind of what it is.
yeah. I mean, like for those that don't know what we're talking about, it's basically when Muslims just kind of cover up and kind of lie their way to get you to believe in Islam, or they try to make Islam look pretty, or they say things like the Sharia law and U.S. Constitution is very similar, and they're very much the same. We all know that's a fucking lie, but they will continue to say these type of things to get you as a non-Muslim to be interested in Islam. So I like to say, Taqiyya or something like that, just to simplify it for non-Muslims or people that don't know anything about Islam, because I'd rather have them be safe than sorry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I also had Sarah Hayter mentioned that yesterday, but we also had a debate yesterday about whether Muhammad was a pedophile or just a child rapist. Because if he was a pedophile, he would have been giving into his compulsion, and he wouldn't have been able to control it. Whereas as a child rapist, he was a predator and set upon Aisha deliberately, which seemed more nefarious. So we had this big discussion about it, and then we had a discussion about Taqiyya, and I was debating a couple Muslims. They were telling everyone that Islam is peace, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's the perfect example. Then when I said, but if someone insults Muhammad, you want to kill them, and they said, well, you can't insult our prophet. I'm like, well, you're condoning murder then. Well, no, but shouldn't you be able to punish? You know, why should Muhammad be insulted? I'm like, but you're still condoning murder. Well, no, we're not condoning murder. It just, yes, you are. It's very frustrating, but that's exactly what it is. It's covering things up or not being honest. That's why I converted to Islam in the first place, because it was romanticized.
That's the connection with the regressive left and Islam. I have to say, because the regressive left will also make that connection and say, yeah, we believe in freedom of speech, but you shouldn't anger a crowd of people. You shouldn't make them angry. Your freedom of speech should be at a certain limit or a certain level. That's where I say the Muslims and the regressive left are in agreement.
Yeah. It's fucking terrifying is what it is.
It's funny. This is kind of a tangential point, but I've known many religious people across all kinds of faiths who endorse that kind of violence. That is scary. Like, you insulted my prophet or you insulted my deity, and it's obviously worse in the Muslim world. There are threats of death, but I mean, there does seem to be this common theme of I will cause you harm if you do this. It's like, okay, that's a little crazy, guys. Let's see.
Yeah, because I mean, Muslims need to humble themselves when they come to this country. I think a main thing is that they have negative attitudes towards, I guess, quote unquote, kuffar or non-Muslims. They think, oh, you guys are just animals. You guys just insult and you want to degrade our religion and degrade our prophet. Like, they have this warlike mentality, and they need to learn to accept criticism. That's all we're saying. But they're just taking it the wrong way.
I was sorry, I got caught up in the chat because Nick was saying about the new AJ Plus video, hating on UK cops for including the Allahu Akbar. You know the terrorist training, and people are upset now. I don't understand what people are supposed to do. Almost all terrorist acts are caused by Muslims, and they can't train and include anything to do with Islam because for some reason terrorism and Islam don't go hand in hand. It's frustrating.
I don't really understand that. What's the UK cop story?
They did a terrorist training exercise in a mall, and they used mock victims and things, and they had the would-be perpetrators of the violent act shouting Allahu Akbar before they did it, and people were upset about it because then they were focusing too much on Muslims as being the perpetrators of the violent act.
You mean the most likely perpetrators were represented in okay.
Profiling is bad, yo.
So I forgot.
Yeah, profiling is terrible.
So what are your views on profiling, Skepo, as an ex-Muslim? What do you think?
I think it's a necessary thing. I think if Muslims don't like it, too bad. You're accepting of and not. If more Muslims spoke out and said that this is not okay, there would be change. But they're okay with it. That's the thing. And so fuck them. Profiling is fine. If you have a problem with it, you're doing something wrong. I don't like having to be naked at the airport through that machine and take my shoes off, and it doesn't protect me anymore, but it's what I have to do because those fucking people wouldn't fucking stand up and say this is wrong. Because Islam wasn't this, like, look at Iran before. It doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't have to be like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, even when I was Muslim, I was like, FBI coming to the mosque, search us, see what we're doing wrong. But I think I was an exception to that. I didn't have the crazy beliefs that a lot of Muslims have today, where they have something to hide. I was more like, I have nothing to hide. I'm a good person or whatever, but I'm all for it. I'm all for profiling. And even if some Muslims feel like they're being harassed, I think they should address the terrorism problem. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Did you want to add something, Kufar?
Yeah, I agree with Skepo. I think we should.
You muted your mic, Kufar.
Aye. Unmute your mic. Maybe he had to really quickly. I'm so disappointed in the rest of the people that were supposed to come. Like I'm gonna like punch faces. And...
You know, I'm more than willing to do this again, and they're always welcome back. Go ahead, Kufar.
Sorry, my dad walked in. But yeah, I agree with Skepo. I think she's right. We should what do they call it? Vet the people coming in from Syria, like the terrorist Muslim nations, and deal with it on like a priority basis. The countries that have the most terrorists should be vetted the most. And yeah, so I agree.
It is funny that, I don't know, that it's a lot of victim complex. I've been pulled over at the airport because I look like fucking the Columbine kids. Like, it makes sense.
Were you wearing a trench coat?
No, I mean, but I look like, like all those shooters are all like skinny white kids. I look like that kid. So they're...
Plus your shifty left eye looks a little beady.
It's in they're fully, they have the right to pull over people who seem suspicious, and I'm a shifty fuck, so that's fine. But yeah, a lot of Muslims don't seem to want to accept that reality.
Then fucking speak up and fix your fucking religion.
That sounds hard. Skepa, that sounds hard. Come on.
I know, right? But they won't even admit that's where it comes from. Admit that inherently the religion is violent. The doctrine at its very core is violent, and that's where terrorism comes from. And they will not fucking admit it. It's the first fucking problem. Regressives don't want to talk about it because you're being racist or you're attacking this religion, and Muslims don't want to talk about it because they believe that shit. I want people to finally understand that the main goal of Islam is to take over the entire world. Like, the entire world needs to be Muslim. Doesn't mean they're going to get a sword or a gun and, start killing people till you convert. But that's the goal. I guess it's the goal of Christianity, too. But, I mean, it's happening right before your eyes. People don't...
Radicalization is a myth. Didn't you see that video from AJ Plus?
Yeah, it's a big myth. It's just... How could you watch this happening and close your eyes and say, but what about the Muslims' feelings? I don't understand it. I don't understand bending over and asking to be fucked up the ass by your conquerors or by your oppressors. Like, these people would do you harm, and you are begging to be fucked up the ass. I do not understand it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw this video from a Muslim saying today, there are atheists that do bad things, and there are Muslims that do bad things. Are you trying to say all Muslims? Are you trying to say all Muslims? All Christians don't fuck kids up the ass, We have to look at the situation. Why are you criticizing all Muslims? And no, we're not criticizing all Muslims. We're looking at the doctrine of Islam. We're looking at the Hadith. We're looking at the text of the Quran. We're looking at Muhammad's life.
Yeah. There's nothing extra in there. That's it. Your prophet.
And the polls.
The polls that want Sharia law, yeah.
Polls don't lie.
Even yesterday I was arguing with a guy about the age. He wasn't arguing with me about the age of Aisha, but the fact that puberty means something different, and in the West we've just put an arbitrary number on the age of what constitutes a child or not, and once they've hit puberty, then it's in season. Yeah, totally condoning child sex, and we just... I don't understand what a child is in Islam, because a child in Islam is different than a child in the West. This is a dude in Pakistan who's sitting there arguing with me about it, and you point it out and you say, so you're advocating for sex with child. No, because if they've hit puberty, they're not a child anymore. Like, she was 9. Well, back then, child marriages were normal, and they happened all the time, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But she was 9. 9.
some Muslim tried to justify that to me. Well, in America, they say if she bleeds, she's fair game. So
What
thing
the
with
fuck?
yeah.
Yeah, and it was bad enough as a in the Mormon Church, the prophet, the original Joseph Smith, sexed up a 14-year-old when he was in his late 30s. That's bad enough. But to hear I converted to Islam not knowing that was the case with Aisha. I learned later on that she was a child. I heard this romantic story about how he had saved her, but they didn't consummate the marriage. Actually, that wasn't even mentioned to me, so I assumed it was when she was an adult. It was years later that I found out the truth, and I was disgusted. But I don't know how anyone can condone that or say that's normal or okay.
What I see a lot of Muslims doing nowadays is they're saying the word consummate just means that they've begun the marriage contract.
Oh. What about the hadiths that talk about how to have sex with an infant? Aren't sound hadiths then?
No, those are weak. Those are fabricated.
Right.
Those are all lies from the Zionists.
The Jews, the dirty Jews.
When you're arguing Islam with Muslims and you bring up hadith, you have to be careful because they'll say that this is either a sound hadith or a weak hadith. So you can get into the whole, even the different interpretations of the Quran, because there's different ones. You can go down a rabbit hole that you'll never get out of.
I just want to ask you, the host of Nightmare Fuel podcast, like, what's your view? How do you see all of this? How do you absorb all of this? Muslims, ex-Muslims, Islam. What's your take on it?
Well, it's not surprising that they're like, because most of the planet's religious to a certain degree, so that's not surprising to me. The thing that offends me most is the apologetics, is the trying to pretend that this is something it's not, especially when that's being done primarily by people who don't know the first thing about the religion. They just want to group it all together, say, oh, these are just good people, and people are good in general, and there's no problem. I could find you plenty of shit people. It's not going to be hard. I could walk down the street and find like 10 within a minute. Like it's not a challenge. So to sit here and pretend that Islam is somehow compatible with modernity, that it's some great spiritual extension to your life that will really improve things, is just fucking delusional. I would hope that we're better than this, but we're not. We have proven ourselves as a species to not be better than this at this time. And if we don't accept the realities of this, this is no longer just like atheist, creationist, imaginary debates. Like, this has very real world implications. If we don't get our shit together on this, there will be a catastrophe. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but that's a great point because I just see so many people. They'll condemn North Korea, but when it comes to Islam, they have to be politically correct, and I can't understand that. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, isn't that the North Korean culture?
Yeah, it's like they'll condemn this whole dictatorship of what's going on, but when it comes to Islam, no, we're not treating them right. Something's wrong here. You can't say all Muslims. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
And I think that's the point that I'm making, and you guys are making, and everyone who's been talking about this issue is making. It isn't all Muslims. There are plenty of people within the Muslim world who are closeted atheists, who are on the fence, who are secret apostates. And when you guys speak out about this on this subject from your perspective, you really empower those people, and that's so important.
Yeah, I think there are many, many closeted ex-Muslims. They're going by the whole, I need to please my family, I need to make them happy. And I'm saying, no, you don't have to make them happy. There are 26-year-olds that are in fear of their parents, and they're living in America. I'm like, no, you don't have to stand up for this bullshit anymore. That's the message that I'm trying to promote.
Absolutely, it's a great message. What do you think, Skepa?
I think it's a cultural thing. It's not just a religion. I can equate it with the Mormon Church just because they kind of take over your entire life in the same way. It's an ideology. It's a religion. It's a political leaning even. It's a culture. It's not as simple as just Christianity and Islam. They're not equal, and right now especially Christianity has been tamed, and if given the opportunity it would still rear its ugly head and do terrible things, not like it used to. But the problem is Islam right now. But it's true. Even like my ex at 27 years old when we got married, his mom was still putting his clothes away, but he only married me against her wishes because he was the youngest boy. The other oldest boy had done something terrible and kind of been kicked out of the family for a while. But he begged and pleaded to marry me. It wasn't like him saying, "No, Mom, I'm going to marry this girl." Like, he begged and pleaded. She finally relented because she was a big softie, but then after she was pissed about it. But because they have so much control. You have kids that are not only just fearful for their lives, but fearful for their livelihood, fearful of domestic violence. Like, domestic violence is a huge issue in Islamic households. Not worrying about dying, but just in general, domestic violence between siblings, between parents and children, and between spouses. Huge problem. I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway.
And I don't want to be selfish and exclude those living in Muslim countries where the penalty for apostasy is death or they'll be thrown in jail. I want to give a shout out to those people as well. It's a very sad situation, and sometimes I wish that we could just extract all those ex-Muslims and replace them for, the terrorists in our country that support ISIS and all that stuff, and just kind of switch places with them. But I know we can't do that. But I really do think about those ex-Muslims trapped in Pakistan or Saudi Arabia. It just really sucks for them. I don't know what the solution is for that.
Oh, I do. I feel terrible for that. I couldn't even imagine. I mean, it's bad enough being scared for the repercussions from your family, but to have to live in a genuinely Islamic country where you have to worry about your life to be an apostate, or even just a question online. They've not really done or said anything that bad. It's just questioning a little bit, and people have died for it. I can't even put myself there mentally because it just seems so incredibly absurd and crazy. You know what I mean? And I never felt that way when I was in those countries. I never questioned back then. I don't know what I would have done had I questioned. I would have been a coward. I don't know. Maybe not, but I would have not said anything. I don't think I could have been brave enough.
Yeah, you raised the point of like what can we do about that? Because I feel like in this kind of conversation, people like us might feel a little powerless. But I think the first step is important, is to identify the actual problem, because there will be apologists who talk about instances like atheist bloggers being killed in Bangladesh, and they'll just say, "Oh, this was fundamentalism. It doesn't have anything to do with Islam." Us calling out the actual perpetrator of these acts is a big first step, and might make more people eventually, if enough criticism is concentrated on the faith and on that region, it won't be nearly as powerful. Go ahead, Kufar.
Yeah, people are just scared from Islam. Like, they're scared to talk about it. They're scared for their lives, their careers, because of this political correctness bullshit. They don't want to lose their jobs, so they don't say anything against it. But yeah, it's not just because of white guilt. I think it's just that people just don't want to be called racist nowadays. They just want to live a comfortable life, and not get involved. That's what I think.
And someone brought this up to me, and I thought it was brilliant. He said, we got to stop looking at Islam as a religion. We have to look at it in an imperialistic political point of view, because that's what it is. It's a totalitarian way of life that tells you how to live, how to
Yes,
put
thank
on
you.
your shoes, how
That's
to
what I
do
was trying to
everything.
say.
It's a contract. And when you become ex-Muslim, it's like treason to them. That's why they're so fanatic about wanting to kill you or wanting to harass you or wanting to bully you. You get that a little bit in Christianity and other religions, but it's not to the extent of Islam.
Is it because the stories in the hadiths about the famous caliphates, and they just want to make an example of them, follow their example, and their stories are like an encouragement for them to conquer and stuff, you know?
It's everything put together because when you look at the Quran, it's like those who don't believe, there's a seal in their hearts. You know, that's what it says in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, the second chapter of the Quran. You know, this is it. This is the message. So if you do not believe, you are fucked.
I think it's because it's a new religion, and overall it's engineered that way that it's made hard to leave.
Well, yeah, because if you leave, you die.
Yeah.
There's no way to just get out of it. That's how they can trick you into being a Muslim. It's simply trick you into being a Muslim. You take shahada. You can't just say, okay, I'm not a Muslim anymore. It
Yeah.
doesn't work like that.
I mean, even if we look at other, cults that are modern, we'll see that thing. But it's like Islam is like, it started like a cult, but after the Prophet died, it went on its own path. Like it immediately split up, obviously, in these two sects, and now we have all this.
And going back to the caliphate, sorry to interrupt, but it's like going back to Abu Bakr, who was after Muhammad. He established this whole idea of the Ridda Wars, meaning the apostasy wars. If you apostate from Islam, I'm coming after you. That started with Abu Bakr. Because after Muhammad died, everybody wanted to go back to their old ways. Oh yeah, Muhammad died, whatever. But it was Abu Bakr who established this whole caliphate thing that said, no, you're not. You're not going to, just go back. I'm going to come and get you. And that's what we're seeing an extension of today. So it's a very scary thing for Muslims to believe in this caliphate business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it all started when the caliphate, the Turkey broke up, and then the Muslim Brotherhood was a reaction to
You mean
reproduce the
the
caliphate.
Ottoman Empire?
Pardon?
You mean the Ottoman Empire?
Yeah, the
Turkey?
Ottoman Empire. Yes, it was a reaction to it. So they made the Muslim Brotherhood, and that's why we have all this terrorism stuff going on. Like they spread out like branches. They make more Muslim organizations, and they have more under them, and then that's how they grow and spread throughout the world.
Yeah. I mean, nearly in every country you have some kind of Muslim organization, and you will see they all have Islamic influence in them all over the place, and obviously they are trying to go to the same goal, to establish Islamic laws and all that thing.
So what do we do about this, guys? Like, what the fuck do we do about all of this?
I think it's better like to point out to the problem so that people can wake up to see it.
Yeah, and then
And
people call you're a Zionist or a
Yeah,
conspiracy
and
theorist.
a Zionist shill. I've been called a Zionist shill and Islamophobe. Like no matter what, you can't win. You're trying to say, listen to me. I know what I'm talking about.
but
Please, but they don't.
we have no other choice. We have to do it. we cannot be silent about it. I mean, when we
It's,
see people dying about their beliefs and they say why they're doing the things they're doing, you cannot say it has nothing to do with the religion or with its core values that it promotes. It's funny because like all religion, most of them are so like tied with politics. They always tell society how to run things and different. But it is when we talk about it, they even with the Christian, they always dismiss it like it has nothing to do with politics. It's just people misusing it. Like in all this history, religion has been political. It has never been only the spiritual thing. And and yet when you criticize other political ideologies, because for most people they don't give a shit about politics. They don't want to talk about it, and because religion is something personal to them, they have a problem with that even much more. And that's why it's so fucking difficult to talk about it.
It's something like Ken Cougar says. It's all about politics. These suicide bombers, they don't blow up in the name of Allah. They blow up in the for revenge, and that bullshit they propagate it over and over again. But I don't understand that Islam is the main reason.
Yeah, I mean, the fundamental thing is that people need like to understand that bad ideas will lead to bad actions, where people get hurt and die. But some people think, yeah, we all are good people, and if we just act nice, everything will be okay. That's not how the world works.
So I guess we have an interesting question from the chat. So what does? Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off, Liberal Hawk.
It's okay.
What does the panel make of reform movements trying to make Islam more tolerant, or do you find those groups to just be apologists, not really trying to change the faith?
Okay, I go first.
Yeah, go.
As long as they have no political power, they will be useless, because always those like groups will be outplayed by the groups that have political power. Like example, the Saudi Arabia and other countries will put more money into the opposite group, and the influence of the reformers will always be little. But if they get their hand on a country, that supports them, they can make change. But until then, they will be useless. Their fight will be really hard. That's how I see it.
Skepa?
I don't think that there may be some very small reform movements. I know there's certain individuals in the public eye that are advocating for reform, but I don't know that the majority of any kind of even small reform movements are genuine. I think they're more apologists. I do not think highly of Muslims. They lie. Not all, but again, it's that thing where you're taught, and they're not going to be genuine. And even reform movements, I question the validity of the things that they say because they lie. So I don't.
Yep.
I think.
I agree, because there was like this girl, I forgot her name. She is like moral change or something like that. Her name is of the organization she's running, and she was talking about about how the Muslims of Albania saved the Jews, and actually she was lying about it, because during the Second World War, the Albanians here saved the Jews, but it was not because of their religion. It was more of a cultural thing. And when I confronted her on Twitter, she said, "I have made research, but I don't know. I'm from here. I know like the reason why they say that, because there's like a lot of documentaries, and it's much more a cultural thing than a religious thing. So even they, like the reformers, are trying to find this little thing all across, like all over the world, over history, to justify their reforms, but even that is really hard to find. So their work is really hard, they're they're little groups with little influence, and like their work is really extremely hard to do. So I don't have that much hope in them. I'm much more I'm looking at the political like landscape and in countries like if we defeat like these countries that are exporting the Islamic mindset all over the world, I think the problem will be much more easily solved. Overall, it's not going to be easy, but that's just paraphrasing it. But we should not put our hope behind the reformist movement. I mean, they can do whatever they want, but we still will challenge them. I mean, just as much as we challenge the Christian and other religion, there's going to be no exceptions.
Sure. What do you think, Kufar?
I think politically, we should make nation since they fund all the radical mosques worldwide. I think if you want to see a real change, we should make sure that Saudi Arabia becomes secular, and because imagine if Saudi Arabia was a secular country, a democratic country, we wouldn't have these radical mosques all over UK, Europe, and the States, and there wouldn't be that much terrorism in the world. So if we want to see a real change, we should have Saudi Arabia become secular. But it's really impossible because the laws there are real strict. Blasphemy laws, apostasy laws are just death. So it's pretty much impossible.
For interacting, but I was talking with a friend about this, and like even the whole thing with like with Saudi Arabia, because what we're talking here is about intervening, about regime change in Saudi Arabia, because I don't see other way how the country can become secular, because I think the people.
I think it's it's because the United States is a ally of Saudi Arabia and they have the oil. That's the only reason.
Yeah, but
other than that, Saudi Arabia would have been just another country like Syria or Iran before.
There's a pretty good argument here about green energy. Like the more the United States moves towards independence from oil, the faster we can cut their ties with Saudi Arabia, and that will really hurt the Saudis. And once they have a damaged economy, they will obviously have domestic problems, because I think they have zero taxes in there because of all the money they make from.
I knew you were gonna make it all about foreign policy.
But I mean, it's these things are not only philosophical. We have to talk about the political stuff here, because like they try to implement that philosophy in real life, and that's where you get into politics. So I think that when the United States move to an independence, from oil, that will hurt the Saudis, and when they will have a damaged economy, they will have to focus much more on their domestic problems, because I think once that starts, the people will start rebelling and shit, and they will not have that much money to fund these other groups.
Yeah,
and
we're like.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, hold up. I wanted Smiles to get in on what he thought about the reforming people.
Well, I'm sorry to burst anybody's bubble for Islamic reform, but I studied this very intensely because I was hoping for a reform, but I unfortunately don't see anybody reforming Islam at all. I've studied the text, the Hadith, the Quran. It cannot be reformed. I can see how people will look at the Bible and say they interpret it a different way, or Judaism and say they can interpret it a different way. But with Islam, it's so direct, it's so blunt in its text that if you were to try to reform it, people will call you out on your bullshit. It's just so direct with what Muhammad said
That's a
and
really
what he
good
ordered.
point.
And I see Majid Nawaz, who is the closest to being an Islamic reformer. He can't even reform the text itself. So I believe that Muslim attitude can reform and change. And I've seen it before. I've seen Muslims kind of willfully ignore the text and just say, this is wrong, this is bullshit, but I'm still a Muslim. So I found that very intriguing. I just don't think you can reform the text of Islam at all. There's no way possible. I just think Muslims are going to just have to willfully look at the Hadith and look at some of the Quran and just say, "Hey, I don't believe in this anymore. Um, I believe in secular values." I think that's how it's going to have to go. But at the same time, even in Muslim countries, they use secularism, but they still push for Islamic State and Islamic beliefs. So I think what's gonna have to happen is that just Muslims are just gonna have to grow out of it and just change and just get with the times and get with modernity.
Yes,
Um,
but
yeah,
we like the rest of the world need to call them out and shame them for believing in what they believe.
right, right. And I think
Because
that's the only way it's gonna happen. You're just gonna have to say,
Yeah,
no, this is a bad idea. No matter how many times you try to reform it. Islamic reform has happened before. It's unsuccessful every time. The closest thing that we have is something called Quranism, or being a Quranist, meaning you reject the Hadith, you
but
reject all
isn't
the
that
violent parts, but
something
it
new?
still doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Islamic reform will never work. So I just think Muslims will have to willfully reject some of the texts.
no,
Can I ask you a question? When did like the Quranist movement start?
Man, that started with was it Rashad Khalifa or Rashid Khalifa, and they started in the United States, not too long
Uh,
ago if you look at it, and they're trying, and there's this guy named Edip Yüksel who's trying to get Muslims to believe that. But even when I was a Muslim, I looked at those people like they were crazy. I
I
was
mean,
like,
yeah. The thing is that the obviously the Hadith and the Quran gives you this thing like don't trust the moderates, don't trust the reformers because they're with the enemy or something like that, and
yeah.
that makes it really hard for people to change it and even for people to leave it.
You just can't change the text of Islam because it's so direct. It really serves its purpose. So I don't believe in Islamic reform. I believe Muslim attitudes can change. That's about
Yeah,
it.
I totally agree here with you because like I can see here in the Balkans the community here is like if you see the percentage how much is it of the Islamic world, it's really little, but because of the history and and everything, like the people here, even though they call themselves Muslims, most of them are like much more moderate than the rest of the world. And I think if the same can be like put in other Muslim places to change for better. Forever,
honestly, I think that if Saudi Arabia came out, became a secular state, and let go of Islam, it would all collapse because everyone was a Muslim. Like in Pakistan, a lot of
yeah.
Pakistanis want to be or like, um, I think if they came out and just call Islam for what it is, the rest of the Islamic countries would follow. I think there may be a possibility, but
I don't know about if they
I
will follow,
I
but
doubt it. I doubt it because the regime is just the regime just wants to control the people and
I
enjoy
mean,
the oil.
it always is connected with regimes. Like example in Egypt, let's see how it will all go with Sisi. He obviously is putting all these authoritarian laws to eradicate the Muslim Brotherhood, but after doing that, will he try to put much more secular and democratic laws, or will he become another dictator? You know, those quote-unquote secular dictators.
Yeah, there's just too much oil and money and power behind it to let it all go.
And you got to
No,
keep in
but
mind that ISIS hates Saudi Arabia, and they're going crazy. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's so funny because they like their philosophy is grown from the philosophy of Saudi Arabia, but now they're so even more radical. They say they are the enemy.
Is it because Saudi Arabia is on the Human Rights Council?
Yeah, they
How
they,
dare they?
they
How dare
believe
they?
that Saudi Arabia is like ruling by kafir disbeliever rules, everything like that.
They're allied with the kafir. That's why.
All right, I guess we have a couple questions that we should get to. They wanted me to ask about the Friday prayer for victory over the kuffar. I'm not actually sure what this is. If someone could better explain it to me.
Yeah, they call it the Friday prayer uh, over the kuffar. It's in every mosque. It's a regular thing. I think
Mm-hmm.
Intro knows more about it.
The only thing that I really know is when people say that or bring that up is in Surah Al-Fatiha, the opening prayer of Islam. It says, "Do not let us be misguided like the Jews or the Christians." And every Muslim recites this like at least 17 times a day. And you know, in the Friday prayers, they have a gathering, and sometimes some imams will make a prayer together with the people that say, you know, make us victorious over the kuffar or something like that. But I don't know of any
Yeah.
specific prayer.
What's the meaning of that prayer? Well, you said Fatahiyya or something? Does it mean victory?
Yeah, it's the opening surah, the opening chapter of the Quran. You have to recite it every time you pray. You pray 5 times a day, and you're bowing like twice in a prayer, and every time you're standing up, you're just asking God not to lead you astray like the Christians or the Jews. But in the text itself, it says, "Oh Lord, do not let us earn the wrath that you put on these people," meaning the Jews, "and do not let us be astray," meaning the Christians. And the reason why I know that is because if you look at the tafsir, meaning the understanding of the Quran, it's referring to the Jews and the Christians. Whenever I bring this up to Muslims, they're like, "Oh, it doesn't mean the Jews and the Christians," but it's because they don't know any better.
So before you became ex-Muslims, like were you religious Muslim, and like debating ideas and things like that? Because I was like that. I was not like practicing Muslim, but I was always interested in ideas and all those things, the philosophical part, and that lead me to atheism.
Oh, I was closed-minded as fuck. When I was Muslim, I was closed-minded. I didn't want to hear anything from anybody
Mm.
else, and I was thinking everybody's going to hell, and I just didn't want to interact with people at all.
I was somehow the same way, but I always thought I was like confident in my beliefs, and I was always open to debate, and even challenging my views, and actually that ended up really changing my views.
Yeah, yeah, because there's a verse in the Quran that says anybody that accepts a way other than Islam is going to hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard they also have a verse in the Quran or in the Hadiths that say any invention that goes against the Quran and Hadiths is considered blasphemy or shirk or something like that.
I mean,
Like
Innovation.
yeah, innovation, yes.
Hmm.
isn't there
So
a verse like in the first or second chapter where it says like something about the moderates, like don't trust them because they're with the enemy or something like that.
Yeah, man, there are a lot of prophecies. This is the thing that makes Islam scary. There are a lot of prophecies that is against modernity. They're saying, before the end times come, there will be tall buildings. Oh, there will be a lot of apostates to Islam before the end time comes.
I mean,
There will be people who don't follow Islam to the T before the end times come. So that's why it's dangerous for a lot of Muslims to see ex-Muslims because they think the end times are coming. And when they see
yeah.
tall buildings, they think the end times are coming. So the prophecies of Muhammad were very dangerous.
No, I think even because Muhammad saw what happened with Christianity, with the religions split in these different branches, he didn't, I think, want to see that happening with Islam. That's why he made it so strict and so like reform.
Yeah,
And
he even
we
addressed
can,
reform. Like he said there would be people who just take the Quran and not my hadith. That's what Muhammad said. They won't follow my way of life. He was
yeah.
very insecure, and people
No way. He
believed him.
said he says that they wouldn't follow my stories or my narrations.
They wouldn't follow my way.
But I
But
think if you are a cult leader and have your own religion, I think you will do the same thing if you're smart.
that's a scary thing, man.
Yeah.
So I guess we have this question. Seems like Islam is going backwards if you take into account the photos of women in day-to-day life that I see from the 70s compared to now. Does the panel agree?
The
Mm,
societies, I think, are going backward with Islam. It's not that Islam is going backward. Islam
It's a fair point.
is,
yeah, definitely agree.
Well, I brought that up
like,
earlier about Iran
yeah.
before the Shah. I mean,
I
after the
mean,
Shah. What the fuck's my problem? After the Shah.
You've been
with
quiet,
Iran,
Skepo. Get in here.
the world would have been so different if Iran would have stayed, a pro-Western kingdom, secular and all that thing. But everything changed with that fucking revolution. Because I think, yeah, I saw it in a documentary that Iranian revolution actually also inspired the founders of like the people who are very influential in this jihadi movement. They were part first, I think, of Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and when they saw that Iran could change to a more Islamic way, they said we can do the same with other countries.
And there's nothing I want to see more than just to see Iranians or Persians get angry. I want them to get angry and just remember whatever they have left of their culture before Islam invaded and just
Yeah.
muster that up and try to restore that culture, that Zoroastrian culture or whatever it is.
I think
Just
that's
anything's
nearly
better than
impossible.
Islam.
They
It's
they see
similar to the
they
Indian culture with the dresses and stuff. It's a beautiful. The women are beautiful, man. The Persian women. It's sad to see them in that state.
I mean it's like nationalism can be used against religion, but the thing is when it comes to Saudi Arabia, they see the religion as a form of nationalism. Because in Egypt, in Iran, in Pakistan, in all these countries, different countries, you could use this not Islamic culture to attack Islam, but in in Saudi Arabia and other like Arab countries, you cannot do the same because Islam is like some form of Arab pride, like Arab nationalism.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the Golden Age and how there was a Golden Age of Islam and Bill Warner's hypothesis of the downfall of Europe?
I think I agree with the Young Turks here, when they say the that the golden age was a golden age because it led, people from different, like, different groups of different thinkers, like, live in peace, and they will have like all these discoveries, philosophical, scientific. That led to the golden age because the caliphate was tolerant of. By tolerant, I mean not killing them, but they will still would pay, the high taxes.
The jizya.
Yeah, and
So
I
what do you
think
think?
that helped with the golden age.
Fuck.
But most of the people who want to establish the caliphate, they they don't they don't they don't think about it. They just say a golden age, and they think it was because it was Islamic. It actually it's not that. It's because it was diverse, and obviously it was protected by the state. In this case, it was an Islamic state, but it was the diversity that led to a golden age. And I think we can see this not only with Islamic civilization, but with other civilization also. As long as there's like diversity being protected by a strong military or something like that, there will always be prosperity under that set civilization.
So, so this is an interesting question. I'd like everyone to chime in. But is there an equivalent to the golden rule anywhere in Islam? That seems to be a topic that's come up in the chat.
I wish there was.
I've heard like Albanians use that there's no force or something like that in religion, something similar to that. But I
No,
don't
there
know if
isn't,
that's
because there isn't.
yeah.
They have this verse. I think it's verse 5:33. For anyone committing mischief in the land, you should have their opposite ends cut off, so they
Yeah,
can be crucified.
I think it's a bullshit term they use it because here when when I say society is much more moderate, the Muslim society here, the reason for that is because like the regime, the communist regime was fucking a brutal dictator, and before that the king, even though the king was a Muslim, he was also very oppressive towards people who wanted to who would have a political uh, who would support a political form of Islam. So it was like oppressed during all this history. The political Islam was oppressed and nearly eradicated during the atheistic regime. But after that, like the obviously like the churches and the mosques started gaining their influence again, and obviously they could not sell the product all like it was, so they had to interpret it differently, and they still do that. They are more powerful now, but they're still trying to to change things, the interpretation.
This is verse 5:33. Indeed, the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger and strive upon earth to cause corruption is none but that they be killed or crucified, or that their hands and feet be cut off from them from opposite sides, or that they be exiled from the land. Now that is some fucking horrifying
Religion of
verse.
peace.
Yeah, there's really no Good Samaritan rule in Islam. There's a lot of people that like to quote, "There's no compulsion of religion," but that verse has been abrogated. There's definitely a divide and a barrier between Muslims and the kafir. The kafir is a lot dirtier. They have to pay the jizya. I don't think there's any golden rule in Islam. Either you're Muslim or you're not, and we're gonna treat you like shit if you're not a Muslim.
I always like think that the best solution for this is always comes to the regimes, because as long as there is like the authority, do not bother you, do not bother the thinkers, and protect actually the individual, the society will always change for better, because you will always have not only reformers but also people who critics and comedians challenging and ridiculing these values, and as long as they're being protected by authorities, I think that can change things. But when you have authorities that hunt down and kill the critics and the comedians, that really prevents people like society from changing.
And one thing I wanted to add is that I know in the Quran, I can't remember what verse it was, but it says something like, if you're not in power, do not pursue the enemy or something like that. They have something in the Quran and Hadith that indicate like when you're not in authority or when you're not in power, be nice to the
Be,
non-Muslims.
yeah,
You
be
know?
be passive.
Yeah. So, but when you take over, when you have power, fuck
Show
them.
no mercy. uh, I mean, this is why now I'm looking at what's going to happen with Egypt with CC, because the way I see it, I think he's actually also helping, I think, some of the religious communities by having this restricted life on ex-Muslim also. But he's still a better alternative than the other guy.
Any more questions?
I'm not seeing anything right at the moment. I haven't heard much from Skepo in a bit. What's on your mind, Skepo?
I'm just listening. It's fascinating.
It's
Waiting
quick.
for something good, like to argue about, but there's nothing. Everybody agrees. It's kind of
That's what happens when you're on a panel of people and they all agree.
it's like, gosh.
I want to
You
talk a
need to
little
bring
bit
up
about.
Patrick in here or someone. Or
I
you gonna
want to
say
talk
liberal?
about this, this like quote unquote movement that started on the left, challenging the regressive, the people who have no balls to take on Islam. Because before this, like, I don't know about you guys, but as an ex-Muslim, like, I was really, every time like the left will cover stories on Islam, they will always have this regressive spin, and I couldn't do nothing. But now I'm really grateful for having all these people, fighting and opening their eyes and challenging things, and especially challenging the leftists, who say, the regressive left, who they say they have these values, but when it comes to real, like, proving that they have, they they betray their own values by not fighting for globally for those values. They're just being, nationalistic about it.
I want to ask Skepo and everybody else a controversial question. Like, what do you feel about being pro-Israel? How do you look at it? Because I see a lot of ex-Muslims that just, they're still pro-Palestine for some reason.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Here we go.
I'll go first. I'm really proudly, like, I even call myself a Zionist. Like, the Muslims here overall, like, most of the world are pro-Palestine, and I always challenge them when they speak about it, about the human rights aspect, about the history of those people and the countries there, and they, like, no matter how many people I debate, they still cannot defeat me, and they always end up leaving the debate, and I'm proud of that. I know it's hard, like, being one versus two or three people debating, but I think I have no other choice. Because if we like, Israel is like one of the, maybe the only country there where, there is a glimpse of hope for democracy, freedom, and all those values that we really enjoy and like, and to be spread all over the place. So if we gave up on Israel, I think we will not have a chance for other countries to follow.
Yeah, I think we're actually all in agreement. We can actually come back to that in a second. This is from Cuffed Up. Okay, so can anyone on the panel think of any current Muslims that would come into one of these hangouts and have a rational debate? That is more a joke question.
Serious question?
Maybe.
Oh God.
Aw. No.
There was I forgot. There was this video of ISIS guy, and I find it always funny because when I listen even to Muslims that are not pro ISIS, they always have these similarities. When they talk about the Prophet, when they say those things, I forgot like what they say that word. You know, yeah, and he was fucking saying in every sentence he was saying that word like 3 or 4 times, and it was so fucking hard.
Well, they do it so fast though. It sounds great when they do it though. It's like professional and shit.
Yeah, I can do it. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
I hate you guys, both of you. You know how hard I worked when I was in conference to say that shit?
Peace be upon him.
Do you know Arabic? Do you speak Arabic?
No. I can read it okay, sorta, but speaking it, no. And my accent's terrible. Because I asked my ex to teach me how to pray, right? So I hadn't taken Shahada yet, and so I'm like, teach me how. So he stands up, and he's like, and I'm like, what did you just say? He's like, and that was it. Like, he was saying it so fast, and when I asked him to slow down, he couldn't. Like, he was incapable of doing it so that he could teach me. So I figured out he didn't even know what the fuck he was saying. He was just repeating a bunch of words he didn't even care about all that time.
Most people here where I came from, like, most of them don't know Arabic. They just, do that thing. They just repeat the words.
I should have done that. I actually tried to learn. Like, I went to prayer classes so I could learn how to pronounce the words properly. That was just like, and everyone else around me is just like, this is so unfair.
I guess I'm in the minority. I learned Arabic and I know how to recite it. Man, they scrutinized me though. You didn't pronounce this correctly, so I had to learn.
Oh yeah, we had a guy, like, he didn't know. I don't think he knew Arabic, but he knew a little much more than the rest. And he was like saying, "Don't say that word that way. Say it this way." Always doing that to everyone else.
Well, like, Arabic and Urdu are so similar, the written language, like alif ba ta sa or alif be te se. So it's like they're so similar. Once you've learned one, it's pretty easy to learn the other. But so my kids were having to learn Urdu, so I tried to pick up Arabic because I was told I would understand the beauty of Islam and I'd be a better Muslim if I learned how to read the Quran in Arabic.
I think. What do you think of the whole? When they make that argument, it's so beautiful. It's so beautifully made. It's fucking the perfect. The Quran is a perfect thing.
Perfect.
Because I don't know, like, I don't know Arabic to know if it's perfect or not. The way it's written, but
I know Arabic. I know Arabic speakers, and they tell me no, it has flaws, and it's not perfect at all. And even there's emulations of the Quran out there. There's an atheist Quran out there, and it can be emulated. It's not perfect at all.
Yeah, because the Muslims always and they always make that argument. It's fucking perfect. If you knew Arabic, you'll fucking understand how perfectly made.
No, they say the Quran. They say the Quran is the perfect. And then I remember, intro, you showed us a video where someone mimicked the Quran and it sounded even better than the Quran.
Yeah, those Arabic speakers, because you'll mostly get that from the Arab Muslims that will just say, "Oh, if you understood Arabic, it's perfect. It's just so perfect."
This is what I say. When I say they view the religion as a nationalistic thing also, because it's tied with their culture.
Yeah, that's a good point. It really is like an Arab pride type of thing that they try to use.
And it's like I can see for the rest, from non-Arab Muslim to change a little faster. Overall, it's going to be really hard even for them. But within that thing, that reformation, it's going to be faster before the Arabs do it. The Arabs will have a real problem with this because Islam is like it started as an Arab thing and it spread Arab culture all over the world. So it's like a religion and nationalism combined.
Yeah, because there's slavery in African countries by the Arabs. Many people don't know that, and I wish more people would expand on that. I wish I could do videos on that, but I haven't researched all that much. But there's a lot of slavery that goes on by Arabs, and many
Do you
people.
have a YouTube channel?
What?
A YouTube channel? Do you have?
Me? Yeah, I have a YouTube channel.
But he's really popular, Hawk.
Hawk, what's wrong with you? Come on.
Dude, his subscribers,
Come on,
he grows
I'm
like 300
sorry.
a day.
I'm sorry. I will follow you. I will subscribe. Just
Yeah.
please send me the link.
He's really good. Like, he does interviews, Hawk. Like, they're amazing. Like, you gotta subscribe. You have to watch all of his videos.
I've seen him a couple of times on another hangout on another channel, but
Yeah, but a lot of people like to point at the white man. They had slavery. But
oh wait, I
Arabs,
think I know you.
the Arabs have slavery too,
Oh yeah.
and they still have
No.
it going on today. The white man. I don't see the white man, owning black slaves and everything. But Boko Haram, they're owning slaves.
You haven't seen Liberal Hawk's Plantation, then.
What?
Forgive it. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, there's a bit of hypocrisy there.
No. The thing is with the left on the West, they love to fucking self-flagellate themselves. We are evil. Hit me.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man. I saw some Muslims and SJWs burn the American flag the other day. This represents slavery. And she's wearing a hijab. It's like, you're fucking represents slavery.
I hate this. I've seen it like even before the regressive thing become a thing. I always have seen this. The Islamists, the pro-Russians, and the fucking regressive are all joined in that, when they fucking bash America and the West, you're evil, fuck you Western countries, you're so evil. And that was pull this fucking bullshit propagandas and all that.
Yeah,
like
even
if you go to when they cover American stuff, go to Russia Today, Al Jazeera, or the Young Turks or something, and you will see down in the comment section all anti-American stuff coming from 3 different people. Like in Al Jazeera, you will have all these Muslims. On Russia Today, you will have all these Russians and all pro-Russian people. And on the Young Turks, you will have this self-hating leftists.
It is not only Africa that they own slaves. Like in Saudi Arabia, they own Filipino and Indonesian slaves.
Indians too. Everyone, man.
Yeah, and Indians.
Have you guys seen that video of that woman, Muslim woman, calling about, that people should go in Chechnya and fucking enslave people?
No, I didn't see that one.
To bring back slavery? I'll find it and send it to you later. It was so funny. And I don't know. It's a lot of things are fucked up. So let's see how we're trying to do our best, but everything's look like it's going downhill.
Well, I think there's a lot of hope, man, because I haven't heard from Muslim apologists lately. I haven't seen them come out with anything powerful. What's the most popular Muslim apologist out there? Hamza Sources? I haven't seen him come out with anything. You know what I mean?
as long as we can keep them away from the mainstream and establishment media, the better it is. Because I think when the people will the people, our goal here is to make people understand that what is the problem, what is where this people like ISIS came from. The sooner people realize that, the better. And the people who need to challenge that should not be people like Trump. It should be mostly people like Bill Maher and
Yeah.
and the new atheist. It's better if
Trump-
you take that from.
Yeah,
Not
Trump really helped
people.
though with his ban Muslim statement. He got everyone talking about immigration and Islamic terrorism. Like we never seen anything like that before. It's not like Obama was gonna say anything like that.
Yeah, but I mean, the other candidates were saying that also. They were not. They were saying in a much more smarter way. They were not saying like Trump is like saying all Muslims, like ban them all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think when Trump is saying that, it comes more from a xenophobic view than a reasonable rational ban. Because if you're listening to the other candidates like Marco Rubio, his views are much more articulated and much more informed on these matters.
I knew you were gonna slob Marco Rubio's knob.
Well, like I said, I'll give credit to where it belongs. I'm not gonna fucking praise Trump and fucking bash the other guys.
I think Kufar, you wanted to talk about Maryam Namazi?
Yeah. Remember her? She was on the Sam Harris podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you guys think of that? About that profile?
we want to go fucking join ISIS. Oh god, that was crazy.
She's a perfect example of someone who is like anti-Islam, anti-Islamism. But just because someone's anti-Islam does not necessarily make them a useful ally. Sometimes they'll have other things that really take away from that.
I think all of us here support her when she's protesting, about Muslims, when she's showing her tits and all that. But she has to understand that her tits are not gonna fucking change. Not gonna make that much big of a deal.
She's a bigot and she's a cunt. I support her when she's
Yeah.
fighting against Islam, but she's a fucking bigoted cunt.
He's a communist.
I was waiting for that.
It's when some people when they try to apply a fucking value in every fucking situation, that's when you get people like her.
I want to strike
Her
her
argument.
See, it's weird for me. I respect her. I respect what she did for the ex-Muslim movement, but she could suck my dick.
We're on the same boat here with Maryam Namazi.
She wants
And, like-
she wants open borders. with
Yeah.
Europe.
She's
Is she
fucking
crazy?
retarded.
I mean, the fact that she was not, it was so infuriating and funny a little bit, because Sam Harris is one of the most reasonable guys I know, and patient and all that, and she was accusing him of not letting her speak. Well, she was speaking like the whole time and not understanding one fucking argument that Sam was making.
She's infuriating. What about Mona El-Tahawi? What do you guys think of her? The one that said she discounts all ex-Muslims, even.
Oh God, I'm glad Lalo called her out for her bullshit.
I've not
Judge.
heard about her.
If you're a man, she doesn't want to hear from you. If you're white, she doesn't want to hear from you. She's definitely racist. But if you're an ex-Muslim, she doesn't want to hear from you about Islam, because your argument is invalid.
Oh God. Is this that fat feminist Muslim?
She looks like a fat brown Miss Piggy.
Well, she's got pink hair, and she says all ex-Muslims are racist.
Oh God.
Fuck?
Very enlightened.
Yeah, she's a great lady. I did. I put out a picture. I put her next to like a redheaded Miss Piggy, and they looked exactly the same. It was that nose she has. It looks just like Miss Piggy. You know, it's ironic, isn't it? Can't eat pork and all.
They'll make some bacon out of her.
Oh my goodness. Did any of you guys eat like I know we talked about it earlier, but bacon like on accident, or did you eat it on purpose ever? Because like my ex ate it one time on accident and he made himself throw up. He was so upset, but he said it tasted really good.
On accident, yes, but knowing that it's, I think I have eaten bacon, knowing that it's bacon. When I was a Muslim.
I ate sausage when I was 5 and I loved it. I didn't do it intentionally, but I was Muslim at the time, and throughout my life, yeah, I ate bacon while I was Muslim, knowing, and afterwards I ate it just for celebration's sake.
I was sitting like there was like always this thing that I was buying. I didn't know they were from bacon, and like the guy who I was buying from knew that because like there's like the stereotype that all Albanians are Muslims, and he said to me, that's bacon. I said, like, whatever. I like the taste of it, and I'm still continuing eating that thing.
I was pregnant and I was craving ham. I've told this story, I'm sure, in a bunch of hangouts, but I was pregnant with my daughter. That I wanted a ham sandwich so badly. That's all I could think about. Pregnancy cravings are terrible, but when you have suddenly had to stop eating pork because you've become a Muslim and you've eaten pork your whole life, it's the one thing your pregnant body is going to crave. I would have sliced someone's throat, literally, for a ham sandwich if I could have eaten it and gotten away with it and been alone. Never got that fucking ham sandwich.
Damn it.
He told me, though, he would hurt me if I fed ham to his children in utero. So I didn't do it.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, smart thing.
I had a more serious related question to something we were talking about earlier, and something we've kind of been hinting at all night. But when it comes to the difference between Islam and Islamism, one of the people who tried to solidify this, unfortunately, was Majid Nawaz. Tried to kind of popularize this distinction that I think most of us are going to say doesn't exist. So what do you guys think about that?
Okay, I think I think we will agree here that Islam with the Hadith and all that, if you're following correctly, it will lead to Islamism. It will encourage you to implement a Islamic rule in society, and that's really what it is, political Islam. Yeah, but I think Muslims themselves they, like most people, don't give a shit about the philosophical part, and they just follow things, and they will not necessarily consider themselves like Islamists or something. So that's how I see this thing. Because if you talk with the scholars, they know what's going on. They know they all are Islamists to some degree, here and there. Just because they're not violent doesn't mean they don't want to see Islam dominating a society. I mean, every time every time you see this pushback against, like with the Christian, when we are fighting the culture wars, about gay marriage, about women's rights and all that, every time they make a pushback, they're advocating basically for Islamism when they say we should follow the path, traditional path, or something. That bullshit.
I think it's good. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's a good distinction for non-Muslims to distinguish who's really pushing for the Sharia law and who's not. Well, which are the Muslims that are pushing for it and which are not. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie and say there's a difference between Islam and Islamism, because Muhammad himself, in his true nature, was an Islamist. I think that it's a very artificial distinction, but it will help. I think it will help non-Muslims really understand Islam, and I think if non-Muslims use that term Islamism, it will help. It will make people aware of what Islam is about. Oh, are you an Islamist? As far as Muslims using that term, I think they will just disregard it and say, "Oh, that's bullshit." There's just
I mean,
Islam.
if Muslims use it among themselves, I think the Islamists will always win because they'll have stronger arguments.
Yeah.
So they won't use it. Yeah, it's much more better if we use that to distinguish between the Muslims who want just practice their faith and those who want to implement the Islamic law. The thing is that we are here in a very different difficult position because we want to challenge the faith also, and that can lead for Muslims not to ally themselves with us, those Muslims who are not Islamist. Like there are only a few people, only Majid Nawaz and some other people who are willing to talk with an alliance with the atheist. The rest are just see us as the enemy, even if they don't want to implement the Islamic law. So
Skepo,
Skepo.
what do you think?
I think it's hard to try to make the distinction with non-Muslims, and hope that Muslims themselves don't start to use the distinction between Islam and Islamism. Obviously, that's where it comes from, and I think that like I said earlier, anyone that's truly following Islam is an Islamist, and I wonder if that would not hurt if we kind of push that agenda where to non-Muslims to help them make the distinction. While it might be necessary, it might be a hindrance as well. I don't know.
Well, that's a good point. I see where you're coming from. Yeah, like it might distract people. Like it might make the regressive left say, "Oh, they're not really Islamists. They're just practicing Islam," when in fact they are Islamists. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, but there needs to be a distinction, of course. So, since we're here to solve all the world's
Yeah, I
problems.
mean, we don't want to fucking shoot at the wrong guys here.
Yeah, I think I keep trying to tell people, it's like I mentioned earlier on Twitter, if you give Muslims in Islamic countries that don't have freedom access to information and freedom, they're not all going to stay Muslim. They're not going to be Islamists. You know what I mean? They're not. No
I
matter
agree.
what, they're not going to be these crazy let's kill all the non-believers kind of Muslims. There's so many in those countries that don't want to be there or just need access to information. That's it.
Yeah.
Hold up, Hawk. I should clarify the reason I brought up the distinction, and I agree that there's a distinction between someone who's a Muslim, someone who's practicing the faith, and someone who is an Islamist and is trying to bring about like Sharia law or whatever. But my only problem with that was that people try to paint it like Islamism is the issue here, and not Islam. They don't want to trace it back to that.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Hawk.
But that's mostly atheist versus theist thing. That's mostly a debate between atheists and religious people. Because we have to see this way. The battle between the philosophical battle between atheists and Muslims and Christians is one thing. The battle against Islamism is another one. Obviously, there are connections, but it's better if we understand those two things.
But do you think too many Muslims are complacent? I mean, I think they are. In speaking out against Islamism being the inevitable. Not, if you're really practicing Islam, being the inevitable conclusion of practicing Islam is Islamism. But I don't see enough Muslims speaking out.
I mean, I said in the beginning, I think if you follow the Hadith and the Quran the way you should, you will end up being an Islamist and even a jihadist. I mean,
I think there's a distinction to be made, just like Escapo said. I think Muslims are complacent. They're just very ignorant. And the problem is when you have a lot of Muslims as the majority, Islamists just take over. They just do. It's just a fact. So I don't care if the Muslims are just regular Muslims that are not Islamists. If they overpopulate an area, they're susceptible to Islamists, and they don't even realize it. So
Mhm.
I do think that Muslims are just too complacent. They're not going to even recognize when the Islamists take over. So that's why I think that more people should be aware, even if you call us atheists against Islam or whatever. I think the atheists are doing the best job in calling this problem out.
Yeah. Obviously,
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it's a little. We have the best arguments here when it comes to religion versus secularism and all that. That's why we're most like well armed with arguments to defend like secularism and freedom and all those Western values. The Christians have a problem with this because they it's hard for them, to talk about these issues and not being called hypocrites.
I do have a question for you guys, real quick. Like, do you guys feel what I'm feeling? Like, when you become ex-Muslim, that there are a lot of Christians that try to approach you and try to show you their way of life?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
The thing is, I'm such like hardcore atheist. Like nobody's approaching me for any like conversion thing.
They do with
Yeah.
Mormons too. When you leave the Mormon church, they prey upon the apostates, but especially the ex-Muslims that I've talked to.
The reason why I ask is because I get a lot of right-winger Christians that say, "Oh, poor you, ex-Muslim, you should join our side."
How many of them
Join
follow you
Jesus.
though? I do
Join
anti-Islam stuff, so they all like I get all these people I don't agree with on anything else, but they follow me and they comment on my videos because it's anti-Islam. Like I guess we've all talked about this. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, but it's kind of creepy to me that these people that are there's somebody in my timeline that was telling people that believe in abortion to all kill themselves, and I absolutely don't think any of that. And yet I've talked to this person about Islam. So I'm like, whoa, do I really align myself with these kind of people because I'm against Islam?
For me, I don't mind, the Christians as long as they can tolerate me. I think I can tolerate them. But if they want to debate, I'm ready for that.
Yeah, I think the enemy of my enemy is my friend is complete bullshit. I have there's a group of friends and fuck everyone else, basically.
I like Netanyahu's take on this. Like the enemy of my enemy is my enemy. Also, when he was on the Congress talking, the speech that he gave, he said, and, I don't know.
It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be the enemy. My enemy is my friend. But I just found myself being aligned with people that I abhorred, like their views. At least several years ago. As I get older, I'm finding that I'm getting more conservative in my viewpoints, but not so much so I align myself with people with pretty.
Like it's been like two or 1 year that I'm calling myself a neoconservative. So.
Yeah,
I already jumped the other side.
It's weird because I agree with someone like Pat Condell. Like, I look at his videos, I'm like, that's fucking amazing. But I'm not a right-wing Christian, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Does it blow your mind, though? Because it blows my mind. I'm just
But
like...
isn't he an atheist?
Oh, is he? I didn't even
Yeah,
know that.
he is. But he's more right-leaning.
Yeah.
He's a right-wing atheist.
Yeah, he's awesome.
The thing, I don't know. It depends on who on the right can we ally ourselves with and who not. Because, like the right wing, the right wing is just as much diverse as the left wing, ideologically. And like myself, because obviously because I'm calling myself a neocon, I think this is the best people to align ourselves with, because they were also some are still, I think, have some leftist views, but most of them are ex-leftists, and they understand like what we are fighting for most. Because with the Trump supporters, I don't see them like I don't like them at all.
The who's, who don't you like?
The Trump, an alliance with Trump. I
Oh, you
don't.
don't
Trump.
like Donald Trump supporters? I have declined to discuss politics for the most part with anyone from Twitter, just because fucking people are fucking insane. Like, they will fucking hurt people because they're voting for someone different. And what the fuck is wrong with people? So I try not to talk about it.
No, with Trump supporters, they make this argument like we need unification, but the only thing I see in him, I think he destroyed his own party, he divided his own party, and these people think he will unify the fucking Western world against Islam. Well, he will destroy the party. If he implements one of his fucking crazy ideas, it will fucking lead to a disaster. And oh god, he will be such a disaster for America and for the whole world. I cannot. I don't know.
I hate to rain on your parade, Liberal Hawk. I think we're gonna get this back on topic.
Lalo quoted me in the chat.
What did he say? What did that rock
Fucking people are fucking insane. Skippo.
You do say that a lot.
It's my frustration. I mean, that's what it is, right? I call it like I see it. They are.
Fucking people are fucking insane.
Well, you're right, and they're insane, ignorant, and stupid.
All right, I think we'll probably wrap it up soon, but I want to give everyone a final word. I'll let you go, Liberal Hawk, if you'd like.
Okay. I think you guys should go because I need to think about it.
You should go. I'm gonna kick you out, Liberal Hawk.
No, you should start it.
Oh, I'll finish. Kufar, go ahead.
I don't know, what should I say?
just your overall thoughts on what we were talking about.
Start with fuck Islam and end with fuck Islam.
Good
Alright.
starting, good ending.
Fuck Islam. I hope we never see Islam again. Today I seen a 5-year-old girl wearing a hijab. It was fucking disgusting. And,
Sexualizing kids is so terrible.
And I say fuck Islam again. Alright, that's all I have to say.
What about now, Hawk? Gather your thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. So I think we should continue fighting for the core values of the West: freedom, democracy, human rights, and we should not be afraid, to make alliances with some people on the right who also want to fight about that, and we should shame those who advocate for the opposite side. That's what I have to say about this.
All right. Smiles?
Shout out to Atheism is Unstoppable for doing a good thing, a good service for us. No, well, not just kidding. I actually like the guy. I'm glad that people are waking up. I'm glad that people are taking the correct side in this, so they lose their friends. Their old regressive left friends, and for people out there that are listening, it's so important for you to speak out against Islam and Islamism, whatever you want to call it. It's important. You might brush it off as something, oh, it's not important. But really, yeah, these people are trying to take over. And if you're not paying attention, they will take over. So thanks for listening, and keep staying tuned to what ex-Muslims have to say about Islam. Thank you.
Thank you. Skepa?
That's the biggest thing, and I've been screaming about this for months now. Listen to ex-Muslims. Doesn't matter which one. Find one you like and listen to them, because they know. And when you sit around and you say how you know better, it
infuriates the fuck out of me. But fuck Islam. Not fuck Muslims. Not all. But fuck all of Islam. Fuck every little tiny bit of it. Fuck it up the ass with the
Hashtag
fucking fiery
progressive.
pitchfork.
Hippo is progressive.
I'd like to thank everyone who took part, and hopefully we can do a part 2, and we can get Abdullah and some of the other people who were going to stop by, and any other ex-Muslim. I think it's an interesting topic. I'm very encouraged by all the number of ex-Muslims coming out and talking about this. Hopefully we'll see enough closeted atheists come out of the Muslim world to the point that religious theocrats don't have any power. That's the best we can hope for. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and check out everyone who took part, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
Bye.
Wallahi.
All right, goodbye.